Well, good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending on when you are watching this or listening to this webinar. Today, we are going to be discussing Survey123 for ArcGIS and what is it. First off, a little help here. We work for Seiler Instrument Geospatial Division. To give a little background about what Seiler Instrument is we are a Trimble dealer that is located in the Midwest. Operating in a few states, and we are, like I said, we are the dealer for Trimble. And on the call of the webinar today, my name is Joe Madai. I am mapping tech support and a Trimble certified MGIS trainer based out of the St. Louis office. And also on here we have Jay Reister, who is located out of our Franklin office up in Wisconsin as well. So here's a little bit about today's agenda. We're going to talk about Esri apps, Survey123, and why do we want to use it. We're going to show you guys how to create a basic survey. We're going to collect data in a survey, and then we'll talk a little bit about who is using Survey123 out in the field. So we're going to run a quick poll here right now with the question of what types of forms are you using to collect data in the field? All right, I'm going to close the poll out here, and a lot of overwhelming responses here with a lot of people who use paper to collect data out in the field. So this is a tool that you can use out in the field to help collect data and take away those paper forms for you here. So what is Survey123? Sometimes when I bring this up to a customer, as we are also a survey, we sell survey gear with Trimble, they think this is a survey tool in terms of going out and staking out points and lines out in the field to survey. But it's not. It's actually a survey as if you were to use SurveyMonkey or any other type of survey out in the field. So why do we want to use a mobile GIS enabled tool? Well, the biggest thing here is we can connect people with their community via crowdsourcing. With Survey123, you do not have to log in, have a user log in, so you can share this with your community out in the field. So that way you can crowdsource that information, and then that way you can bring that data back into the office, and you can run assessments or spatial analysis, or you can create a pretty map if you want to with Survey123. But here's the biggest thing, is it eliminates that cumbersome paper forms that you take out into the field, and then it'll standardize the results that you go back into the office. So what we can do is take all of the data that you have on a paper form, and we can create questions that you want to ask out in the field, and then create answers that are standardized, so that way your data comes back in looking a little bit nicer. So Esri has a lot of apps that are out there in the field. So we have office apps, and you can see the office apps on the top, and then you also have field apps that are down at the bottom. And with that, we're going to be focusing on Survey123, but it is in the same vein as using Collector for ArcGIS. So if you have access to ArcGIS online, then you have access to using Survey123. It is not a paid-for system. You can actually go out there, and it is included in your ArcGIS Online subscription out in the field. So here is some information about Survey123 and its systems requirements. So it will run on Android, it will run on iOS, it will run on Windows 7, 8, and 10, and it will also run on Linux. So you have the ability to, anywhere you have a web browser, you have the ability to use Survey123 and collect information and send this out to your community out in the field, or your field collectors to collect data out in the field. So let's talk a little bit about what Survey123 is. Survey123 is form centric. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask questions first. So let's ask the question, what you want to ask in the field. So what we're going to focus in on, the demo that I have planned is we're going to focus in on political signs. So, you know, how many signs are in the yard? That's a question that you can ask. Locations are secondary. You don't have to actually use a location out in the field, but you can, you know, this is Esri, so locations are pretty much required. If you do not use a location, it will put it at 0, 0, and it'll capture all of that information there. It will help you make informed decisions. So here at Seiler Instrument, we use Survey123 all the time. We use it to monitor what types of conferences we want to attend to, if we're going to go back to those conferences. We use it to help with our scope of trainings. So if we're going to come out and train you, we will send a Survey123 to help better prepare us and make sure that your training is more successful out there. So that helps us to make more informed decisions and better off help the customer have a more successful training in the long run. Questions can be rule-based. So unlike Collector at the moment that does not have conditional statements, Survey123 has conditional statements in there. So if I answer a question a certain way, I can achieve another question that might have been hidden in the long run. So I can work offline and or online. If I want to work offline, I need to have the application downloaded to a tablet, a laptop, an Android phone. That's if you want to work offline, because you can go out there, you can collect the information, you can store those surveys on the phone, and then you can then submit them when you're ready to submit them, like if you have Wi-Fi. Or you can do it online, which would be immediate, just like Collector does as well. And you can analyze your survey results immediately. As soon as you put those survey results coming in, you can see them coming up on the screen for the map. So here's a little bit of information about where Survey123 sits in terms of Collector. So it is, as where Collector is map-centric, Survey123 is form-centric. And you'll see there that as soon as we open that up, there will be no map to see our location. It's just going to be questions that we will ask out in the field. We can edit existing data, and then there are the ability to do smart forms, which is through their XLS forms. So Survey123 has, and you'll see this on the next slide, 2 ways that you can create surveys out in the field. The first one is the easy way using the web designer, and the second is using the XLS form using Survey123 Connect. We're going to focus purely on the web designer and not on Survey123 for Connect. Connect has a little bit more heavy hands in terms of things that you can do out in the field. And then obviously the biggest thing here is it supports anonymous access. So that's where it's going to allow you to do that crowdsourcing out in the field. It's going to allow you to create a form, like you want to go out and map where your potholes are at in your community. You can have your community go out there, and you can crowdsource your citizens with finding the potholes that are out there in your city. So that's the biggest thing, is it crowdsources compared to Esri Collector. Also, the big difference between that and Collector, it'll run on Mac, Linux, Mac and Linux as well. And then obviously technical support would be Esri in the community and us here at Seiler Instrument for the support. So here's what I was talking about how we would go in and create a new survey. And actually, I have a survey that's already created, but I'm going to show you the ins and outs of making a new survey out in the field. So we're going to actually be, when we create a new survey, this is the screen that you will see here, and you can either use the web designer or you can use Survey123 Connect. So in using the web designer, essentially it's going to be simple surveys. It's drag and drop, and then you go out there and create your data. With Survey123 Connect, you pretty much use an Excel spreadsheet that has a little bit more capabilities to go out there and collect your information out there through the XLS form spreadsheet. So this is what the web designer looks like, and you can see my surveys that we have out here that I have created, and essentially I can come over here and click on create new survey, and the previous screen of what you saw will bring up whether or not I want to collect information via the web designer or using Survey123 for Connect. Now, using Survey123 for Connect is a separate download, as where the web designer is strictly on the web. So if you're using Google Chrome or Firefox, it works really well on that information there. So I can go in and edit any of these surveys that I have originally created, and then it'll also tell me how many records that I have as well. So you can see, you know, scope of training. I have 26 records of information for the scope of training there with that information. So here's the example that I've created, and so, you know, we're talking about political science. So here, where I live in near St. Louis, we're in the midst of electing mayors, electing judges, among those. So it's a great time to go out and find out where those political signs are at, because sometimes people have way too many political signs in their yard when you're driving down the street. So this is what I created, and it's a simple question and answer. You know, is there more than one sign in the yard? Whose name is on the sign? I can actually assign where that sign is located. So if you guys want to, and hopefully this might work, this link down here in the lower left-hand corner, if you want to follow along on your phone or on the website, you can actually go to that link, and you should be able to see that that demo of Survey123. So we're going to do this here, and I'm going to open this up on my screen here. So starting off, there are some things that I want to change in this screen. Like, for instance, it says description for the content of the survey. I want to be able to change that. I want to actually tell the people what they want to go and collect. But I can come in here and I can put who's the name on the sign, where's the sign located, and then I have a date, and is there more than one sign in the yard. So we're going to go in here and we're going to add a few more details into this, so that way we can see how quickly you can change this form, and that way you can manipulate it, so that way you can make changes for your users in the field. So this is the design portion of Survey123. So what I did was I created, and when you create, this is what you're going to see. So here's my title, which is political science, and then I can change the description for the survey. And I could put something out there that says, find political signs in yards, if I can spell today, in yards, and capture data points. It's Monday. So now you will now see that my description has changed. So my next one here is whose name is on the sign. As you can see, I have a little asterisk next to it. I have it set as a required question because we want to know who is out there. Whose sign is it? Where is the sign located is another question that is required as well. So anytime you see those little asterisks at the end of a question, that is a required question. I also have a date, and then I also have, is there more than one sign in the yard? So then if I want to add information, all I need to do is I need to come over here to where it says add, and then I have a whole list of information that I can add in terms of choices. So say for instance I want to take a photo. Here is your image, and essentially I just drag and drop, and I can put that information right there. And I can then, if I wanted to put the photo up higher, I can just drag and drop it into that area of whatever section I want that photo to go into. So I'm going to label this question is take a photo. So I can take a photo. I'm not going to make it required, but you can see how you can take a whole bunch of information that's out there, and to have all the other information that's out there. You can even put a signature that's out there, so you know who took that information for that. So let's put a signature. Let's put a signature in there, and I can put please sign. And then I'm going to hit save down here at the bottom. So that's going to save it. The nice thing about Survey123 is that you also have the ability to go out there and you have the ability to preview it too. So if you look here right down in the lower right hand corner, it says preview. So I'm going to click on preview, and it's going to generate this survey. So I have the ability to view what it's going to look like on the desktop. So here's what it would look like on the desktop. And then here's what it would look like on a mobile phone. So this is just exactly what it would look like on an iOS phone. Or here's what it would look like on an Android or an iOS tablet. So you have the ability to pick and choose and design what you would like this to look like out in the field. You also have the ability to come in, and then you have the ability to change the appearance. So say for instance, I wanted my background to be blue. I can change my background to be blue, or I can put a theme in there that if you have a certain color, you can have themes there as well. So now what I've done is I've changed this to blue, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save this information. And then I'm going to publish this survey. We have some questions that are coming in, and we will answer these questions at the end. So don't think that I'm not paying attention to you guys. So we'll make sure that we get to your questions. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to publish this. So that web link is now published. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint really quick. And if you guys want to go to this link that's down here at the bottom, you can put that link in there, and that will bring up the web here. So we're going to give it a couple minutes if anybody wants to get that that link up and running, so you can see the web app. All right, so now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to open up my survey again. So we can go in there, and if you guys want to fill this out, by all means, go ahead and fill this out. So whose name is on the sign? I'm going to put my name. So where is the sign located? You can either use your current location, or I'm going to put in the address of, you can start in typing the address, and this happens to be the address of where Seiler Instruments St. Louis headquarters is at. So that is where I'm gonna take that that photo. And then the next thing down is I can take a photo. So we can either click here to choose an image file, or I can use my photo to take a photo as well. As I'm on the computer, I don't have a webcam attached to it, so I'm not going to take a photo on this one here. So the date will automatically pre-populate to this date. I just select the date, and it's going to put that information in on the date. Is there more than one sign in the yard? You can hit yes and no. This would actually be a good one to use a conditional statement. So then that way you could put, is there more than one sign? You can hit yes, and then it'll open up another set of questions like whose signs are in the yard, instead of doing multiple surveys for that yard. So I'm going to sign above, and then there's my wonderful signature. And when I'm done, all I do is I hit submit, and it'll say, great, your data has been successfully submitted. So all of that data will then come back into Survey123, which then could come back into ArcGIS Online, and then have your data there back in the field. Let's see here. We're going to go back to the PowerPoint here. So here's some people who are using Survey123. So you could use this for emergency management. You could take this out there and you could use this, if you have a flood or tornado or hurricane, you could take this out there and go do inspections on houses. And then that way you could crowdsource that information and then come back into the office. There's the other one, potholes. You could use this as census reporting. And then obviously the big thing here is, yes, you can use this for utilities and trees and environmental, just like you would with Collector. So you can use this just like you would with Esri Collector. It's just more focused on asking those questions and getting answers back into the office. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do another poll. And the question here is GPS accuracy important to your data you collect? All right, looks like we got everybody here. So, overwhelming majority is saying yes. In terms of that, so we have good news for Survey123. So as of the release of 3364, the field application of Survey123 has a direct connect to Trimble receivers. So we can take any Trimble receivers, whether that be the R1 or the R2. We can take that information and we can use that to use accuracy in the field to collect your data. The good thing here is you no longer need the GNSS status app with the R1 or the R2, as it directly connects within the app itself. All right, so here is what is new and what is coming for future releases for Survey123. So the one here that I like a lot here is that webhooks are now supported. And what that means is I can, if somebody collects a survey, I can have that survey come in and a webhook created that when a survey has been generated, it will generate an email. So when somebody submits a Survey123 for my scope of training, I receive an email that says, hey, a scope of training has been submitted, and then that way I can go out there and see all of that information for whoever submitted that scope of training. Enhanced GNSS metadata. So I can actually go in and put metadata for my GNSS receivers. And then metadata is just data about data. That's what the receiver will automatically bring across when collecting that information, whether it be your accuracy, your vertical accuracies, pretty much anything, your lat long information. The only way with the GNSS metadata is that you have to do that through the Survey123 with Connect for that there. And then obviously the GNSS external receiver support, it's built right directly into the app. And then here's what's coming for Survey123. They are going to bring in polyline and polygon support. As of right now, this is purely taking points out in the field. So they will add in lines and polygons. And I believe this is in beta currently with Survey123. And you do have the ability to go out there and sign up to be a beta tester, so you can test this information as well. You have the ability to do bulk report printing, and then JavaScript extensions. There are a whole slew of new things that are coming to this. So be on the lookout because it's ever changing. And then we have it's ever changing for that there. So I have 2 more poll questions, and then we're going to answer any questions that you guys may have there. So next poll question is, would you be interested in learning more about Survey123? All right. So an overwhelming responses would say yes, that we can, would like to be more interested in learning about Survey123. So that's great, and we can get with you and we can talk about Survey123 and how we can implement Survey123 for you guys. So now comes to the question side of things. If you have questions, we can put them in there and we can go through and we can answer any questions that are there. So one question that I have here is, can my map be more focused to my community? And yes, it can be focused to your community. You can go out there and you can create these surveys exactly the way how you would like to go out there and create your survey. So it's completely focused on how you want to build it, and yes, you can focus it towards your survey or your community. If you want to put your city logo on there, you can put your city logo on there, and you could put on neighborhoods, if you want to put neighborhoods for that information, that is there. We can do that as well. Let's see this. Okay, going through here. That's a great idea. You know, we're in the looking in terms of maybe making a Survey123 traveling. Somebody asked about how to bring your data into ArcGIS, and you know, we could do this as another webinar maybe down the line, or you know, we also can show you guys how to do this in a training, and potentially looking and doing this as a traveling training where we will go to our offices and see all of that information. Let's see. Can you associate the questions to populate a feature class? So I have a question here that says, can you associate the questions to populate a feature class? So in theory, when you're creating your survey, you are in theory creating a feature class with an attribute table. So all of those questions will be attached to a point, whether it has a location or not. So it's automatically going to populate that feature class, and then we could download the data from ArcGIS online and take that data and then bring it into ArcMap down the road. With survey.
Joe, I didn't know if you saw that I put the answer out there for about the themes. There are several blog posts on Survey123 that do show you how to customize it, whether you're directly doing it in Survey123 or if you're doing it in App Studio.
Right. So yeah, so there was the answer of, can you save a theme? Yes, you can. You can customize and save a theme. So then that way, when you're building a new application, you don't have to put out there any more of that information. You know, especially if you're using specific colors to your organization, you can save that and not have to recreate the wheel. Can you record multiple responses? So the question here, I have a question here that says, with Survey123, can you record multiple responses? Like if I was a landowner with multiple properties with multiple sign locations. Of course you can record multiple responses. It just depends on how you want to build this as a survey. Do you want them to collect one point there and then have multiple responses? You could build the multiple responses as a conditional statement in the survey, or you can do the other side where you could actually have that user take a point for each sign or each property that's out there in the field. It's totally up to however you guys would like to put that information that's out there. So here's a good question. When you make a change to a survey form, does it invalidate all the records that you have collected to date? It does not necessarily invalidate all the records that you have to date, but you can save all that information. But when you make a change, it's going to make a new survey and it's going to start collecting all brand new information. So it doesn't necessarily invalidate your previous records. It just won't add to your previous records back in the field. Somebody asked, I don't need to use the app for the GNSS status app for my Trimble R1. No, you do not. And with the new Survey123 field application, the R1 specifically connects within the application itself. So another question here, can you load points onto a map like for fire hydrant inspections? This is a little bit more heavy-handed of a question. Survey123 is not specifically map-driven. So what I would do in this theory, and this is doing more advanced work, you would load your information into using Esri collector, and then you would use Survey123 to do your inspection of the hydrants. So you can use collector to launch Survey123 for fire hydrant inspections. Can either web designer be taken off or connect? So the next question is can either web designer or connect be taken offline? So the web designer, no, it is purely online itself, and you have to have an internet connection with using the web designer. On the other hand, Survey123 for connect is offline. When we use Survey123 for connect, you will have the ability to use a Excel spreadsheet, and with that Excel spreadsheet, you will have the ability to create all that information offline, and then when you have good internet connection, you can post that information up into the cloud. So here's a question here. Does Survey123 have a capability for nested lists? So my operators could create an inventory list for use on leak for multiple nested lists. So essentially a drill down list. And not necessarily does this have the ability to do nested lists. You have the ability to create lists out there in the field. But what you could do is you could create a conditional statement that if you selected, for instance, a T fitting, and then it could bring up the sizes for specifically those T settings. I would use this more as a conditional statement. Might be a little bit more work, but as of right now, there are no multiple nested listings for selections out in the field. The next one here is the geoid solution available. You mentioned that the elevation is being collected. So the question of the geoid here is, I don't know at this moment in time because I haven't 100% tested this out myself. If you go out there, it has the ability to use the not height above ellipsoid, because we know as of right now with Esri collector, all collection is done with height above ellipsoid, which you would assume that Survey123 is exactly the same way. But when you go into the receiver portion of Survey123, those settings that are in there give you the ability to look what might be geoid information in there. So I haven't tested it myself, so I can't give you a 100% answer if the geoid solution is available. But I'll shoot you an email when I find out that information. The next one here is if you have unique numbers for your manholes, can that data be relationship class or map joined to the Esri map? Of course. You know, that you would just create a related table, and you could have that information come across and have you know, your map joined. So that way, when you went out to do inspections, you could use Survey123 for your inspections and not touch your data that is out there in Esri collector. Can you use a self-posted feature service via ArcGIS online or Arc? No, not necessarily. Well, you can use server for your information out there for Survey123, and then the majority of it is used through ArcGIS online, but it does have the ability to use your ArcGIS server if you need to use server. Let's see. So the next one here is, can you take the survey data and insert it into an Access database? Of course you can. You can take this data and put it into an Access database, no problem. And can survey be tied to existing data, say fire hydrants, so that you can find them? So that question kind of goes back to it's asking, can a survey be tied to existing data? So that way the hydrant, you can fill out a survey for the particular hydrant. Yes, it can be. That data can be tied via data location or an attribute. With using collector Survey123, it creates a global ID, and if you want to use your global ID, you can have that global ID be your one marker that will be for your Survey123 and for your information out in the field. So I had a question here, and I totally forgot on this. What does this look like in the back office? So if I come over here to my data tab, I can come over here and see all the data that you guys, that whoever collected out there in the field. So here's all the information, survey points. So I can zoom in to survey locations. So here, for instance, this one here is mine, and I have the ability to print this off if I need to. You can print it off as a PDF and have all that information there, or I can open up in Map Viewer, and then I can open this up in Map Viewer. Oh, apparently I can't open this up in Map Viewer because it's refusing to connect. But this would open up in ArcGIS Online. When you create this data will create a feature class or feature service in ArcGIS Online for you to go out there and have all of that information there. I have one more poll for you guys. Oh, there. Hold on. I have some more questions here. Is there a CAPTCHA? No, there's not a CAPTCHA. There's not a CAPTCHA there.
I just responded to that, Joe. That is on the Survey123's radar.
Oh, is it?
I just put a blog post out there from a year ago, from 2018. It is on the radar, but a great question. Okay,
yeah, I mean, that's the great question there. Do I need an ArcGIS Online account to use Web Designer? Yes, you do. For instance, here, if you look on my, if I sign out real quick, and here's Survey123 arcgis.com, and I hit sign in, it's going to ask me for my username and password. So you would have the ability, you have to have the ability to do that. You need an ArcGIS Online account to use Web Designer. And then last question here is, do I need the GNSS status app for the new collector app? It's kind of a loaded question. If you're using iOS, the answer is no. The GNSS status app has been built into the new collector, and if you're using Android, you still need to use the GNSS status app that's there. So I have one more poll question for you guys. As this is our first webinar that we've done, we're not sure on the timing. So for future webinars, what timing works best for you guys? All right. So seems that morning or lunchtime works out well for people there. So I'm done with this here. Here's contact information for Jay or myself. If you want to email us with more information, by all means, please reach out to us. And if you have ideas for webinars in the future, shoot us an email too, because we definitely would like some suggestion for emails for webinars in the future. We also have a blog at silergeo.com/blogs that we maintain, that we put out information. So if you're not signed up for the blog, go out there and email us, or you can email us at mapsupport@silerins.com, as that will go to Jay and I. And you can send us questions, and we can get back to you. But thank you very much for coming to the webinar today, and we greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you at the next one.